Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Wendy. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, great. So I'll try to keep my remarks really short. I know that we have really two great speakers for today's session, and I really want to get to their talking points. But before we get there, let me just give a little bit of context and some background to today's session. This is actually, I'm assuming everybody knows me, but maybe I should just pause that first and say, I'm Essie and Mary. I'm the Global Network Weaver for the Global Fund for Community Foundations. I am actually based in Nigeria, and my colleagues here with me, Ashburn and Wendy, are also scattered across the globe. Wendy is in Brussels, and Ashburn is in Uganda as well. So that's our team this afternoon. So this session on corporate giving, corporate philanthropy, is actually going to be the fifth partner-led and organized learning sessions. We started doing these learning sessions collaboratively with partners last year. And past sessions have looked at building local philanthropy, engaging marginalized groups, localism and livelihood, and community participation. And today's session, as you're hopefully in the right room, is about corporate philanthropy. So we know since COVID-19 upended all of our worlds in 2020, more and more community philanthropy organizations, where many of you are from, have been expanding and exploring their resource mobilization efforts and exploring new ways of engaging with corporations. But these types, maybe I should say, if you're not speaking or if you are on here, to just put yourself on mute as we're recording, please. But we know that these types of engagement with corporations, businesses come with a lot of questions and a lot of challenges. We know that such collaborations not only build broader local constituencies, but also contribute to the sustainability of impactful community level work, especially on the ground. And in today's session, we have the IT Community Foundation represented by Francois and the Kilimani Project Foundation represented by Wanjuri in Kenya, two organizations on almost opposite ends of the world, but with shared history and connection. They will be talking a little bit about their stories of growth over the past decade and how they have engaged with corporations in the communities that they work in to advance community philanthropy. We have some of our own questions, but I do want to say that, this is going to be an interactive, an open and free-flowing conversation. So it's, Julie and Francois, while they are the official speakers, we will make an opportunity for others too to kind of jump in and share their own experience as well. But let me just introduce our speakers formally. So Wanjuri Kanyiha is the Executive Director for the Kilimani Project Foundation. She is a lawyer by training, an advocate on the High Court of Kenya, and an advocate for social justice and good governance. She is also, the Kilimani Project Foundation is a membership community foundation established a few years ago in 2012 by and for multi-interest stakeholders, residents, corporations, micro enterprises, and public space occupiers. Through transformative, innovative methods, the foundation seeks to activate the community's constitutional rights through empowering and informing, as well as facilitating platforms for engaging amongst themselves and other stakeholders. Francois Chavonet is a businessman and with a passion for environmental issues, specifically connected to sustainable economic development of IT. He is currently the treasurer for the IT Community Foundation. He has his own firm and has spent the last 8 years in international companies where he's held positions around finance and accounting. And as I mentioned earlier, he's currently the treasurer for the IT Community Foundation. You get to hear from both speakers later this afternoon. First, I will turn over to Wanjuri to start her presentation, and we can then turn over to Francois. So Wanjuri, I think you have about 10-15 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Essay, for that wonderful introduction. I hope I am loud and clear. All right, fantastic. Let me start by saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the different participants on this call. I'm really honored to be here today and talk a bit about our story as Kilimani. I will not try and, paint a picture with a lot of data and analytics and, information of that nature, because I know that you can find anywhere. So mine will be a story about Kilimani and the journey we've walked, and, speak a bit into corporate philanthropy and what that has meant for us as a community foundation. But before I go into that, I want to do my own kind of icebreaker, right? Because I know I'm speaking to a global audience, and I would want to know by a show of hands, how many of you have visited Kenya, where we live, our beautiful country, Kenya, and how many of you have been in Nairobi? Just by a show of hands. Let me see if I can. I'm tempted to say not the organizers, because I know the organizers have been here before. Wendy, Leah, sorry, I can't see my full screen, but okay, I can only see 2 hands up. Essay, all right, fantastic. Nick, okay, fantastic. All right, that's good to know. That's really good to know. So I know I'll have to give a bit of context when I speak about Kilimani, because many may not understand what we do or where we are. So I will, I see you, Andrew, I see you, Barbara, Georgina, thank you so much. So I will just begin by talking about Kilimani. As you can see, my first slide shows a beautiful bird's eye view of Kilimani as it stands now. And I always say Kilimani is much more beautiful when we look at it this way, and it has changed over the years. But just to give you a bit of a background, originally Kilimani was a coffee estate, right? And it had been segregated as such by the colonial government. And it was a white residential area in the late 1950s, and it was then desegregated in the early 60s. We are largely a middle class income neighborhood, and currently have a population of about 45,000. It is one of the few neighborhoods in Nairobi that residents can live, work, play, go to school, shop, and be entertained. And there's this running joke: if you want to have a great time, you know where to go in Kilimani. We also have different nationalities and ethnic communities, ranging from the French to the Chinese, Francophone West Africans to Ethiopians, and so on. So Kilimani is really seen as a place of innovation, culture, activism, and the arts. The head of state is also, a resident of Kilimani, and we take pride in that. So you can imagine the kind of diversity we have in this neighborhood. However, being a middle-class neighborhood, we also have contradictions in as much as we are predominantly a middle-class neighborhood. Then the landscape is changing, and we are becoming densely populated, and many families are living in their constrained quarters and flats behind tall fences and gates, and issues of community cohesion being watered down, and issues of security being heightened, and people really looking inwards rather than looking outwards. And those are some of the challenges that we are facing as a community. And in as much as we are a middle-class community, there is another side of Kilimani that exists. And this, by this, I mean the domestic workers, the security guards, gardeners, taxis, and border transporters. And by border, I mean motorcycle that has grown over the years as a preferred mode of transportation. So this, this demographic of people offer Kilimani, support in terms of domestic services, in terms of gardening, security, and so on and so forth. So we are really a complex sort of neighborhood, more, with different types of people, passing through, living, working, playing, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, we pride ourselves as being one of those communities that are all inclusive and that continue to build communities and to build people, those who live here, work here, or transition through here. So let me talk about our beginning as a community foundation. So we started as a garden conversation. A few of our founders who are residents, educationalists, business people, and artists sat down and, had a discussion around, the way the landscape of Kilimani was changing. And this was way back in 2012. And as you can see, critical to its formation was a sense that the physical environment was changing very fast without the vision and the voice of the community. Public investment in utilities and facilities was lagging behind, and the community really was not involved in these discussions. So key communities were being displaced from public spaces where they had operated. And I talked about food courts, the markets, the taxi ranks, the border drivers, and so on and so forth. So Kilimani was really changing fast, and the founders decided to come together and form this community foundation that would address not only utility problems, but also come together and enhance different areas of the foundation that would build cohesion. And that brings me to the next slide, where we talk about, our business and what keeps us busy as a foundation. If you will just give me a second as I try and, yes, if you can see that, I hope that's clear. So as you can see, when we formed the foundation in 2012 as a membership foundation, largely run by volunteers and community philanthropists who offer their time and resources. We've managed to increase public safety. We've managed to invest in green spaces and run activities and projects around the environment, including recycling projects, including cleanups, and so on. We have supported successful, seen the support of small businesses, micro businesses, and other enterprises in Kilimani. And one of our stronger pillars is advocating for planned and sustainable development. So all this has been, work that we've carried out in the last decade. Of course, being largely community driven, meeting the needs of community, and seeing how then we can activate community members to, to plug in and give their time, give their resources, give their money. So when we talk about community philanthropy, that's what Kilimani is about. Even before we talk about corporate philanthropy, we see Kilimani as really the embodiment of community philanthropy. And, that's in each and every activity that we, that we host, in each and every activity that we carry out. As you can see there, our commitment is to build a safe, clean, and cohesive community led by active, engaged, and invested citizens, inspiring other communities. So our intention is not really just to serve the people of Kilimani, because if you look at it, Kilimani is just a small ward or borough in the larger Nairobi, in the larger scale. There's Kenya as well. So our idea is to come up with a model that's implementable outside of Kilimani, outside of Nairobi, which is our capital city, and in other places where we can also inspire other communities really to stand up and stand out and come and build their communities as as communities of choice and communities where people thrive and prosper. So let me speak a bit about community philanthropy and how that has shaped Kilimani. As I mentioned before, we are a membership-based organization. Sorry, I've had a bit of disruption, but I'll continue. As I said before, we are a membership-based organization, and part of our membership includes, as I mentioned, residents, business owners, and those who are really vested in shaping Kilimani, those who are really interested in seeing it develop in a sustainable and inclusive manner. So for us, even as we continue to engage the community, within the community itself, we have business people, we have those who run corporations, right? We have many of the bigger corporations that are headquartered in Kilimani. We have smaller businesses that include micro enterprises, small and medium enterprises. So in even putting together our membership or doing our calls for membership, one of our driving forces is incorporating these businesses and business owners through our membership drives, because you know, even in our last planning, strategy planning, which happened about 2 or 3 years ago, we realized that we really cannot leave out business owners as they continue to occupy Kilimani and to invest back in Kilimani. So for us, we see them as, you know, invested as well. We see them as owners of this space that we jointly occupy. So for us, it's seeing them really as part and parcel of us, and seeing how then their business can be incorporated or can give back, you know, in shaping Kilimani. So in so doing, we figure out how to create meaningful partnerships and businesses with these business owners, with these corporations, and figure out what their ethos is, where their objectives lie, and see whether we can partner in a way that's meaningful for the community. How do we grow their interest in investing in community development and in general wellness of community members? And many a time, you know, many people will see corporate philanthropy as, you know, something that comes at the tail end of their, you know, of their strategic plan. You know, we have X amount left out of our budget, but for us, the discussion we want to really nurture is seeing community philanthropy or corporate philanthropy as at the center of you know, the businesses and how they conduct their businesses within Kilimani. We also allow the corporations and the corporates, the businesses, to find a space within the community that they can plug in and contribute to building Kilimani. And I'll give you specific examples as we go along, but this has really been beneficial both to the corporations that we've engaged and to us as a foundation in terms of identifying a problem that exists within the community, and then partnering with these corporations to help solve that challenge and to help solve that problem, whether it's through material giving, whether it's through expertise and skills, or whatever other way. We give the corporates an opportunity to plug in and come and support. So I'll just talk about a few examples of how we have engaged corporates within our programming and within our activities. And just to again reiterate that all our programs are really community driven, and we give an opportunity for community members to actually come and say, listen, we have identified a problem or a need within the community, and rather than sit back and complain, as our chair likes saying, from agony to agency. So rather than sit down and complain and say they haven't done that, when will they do this? Let us take action for ourselves and see what we can do. So one of the success stories we've had is around solid waste management. And we call it, it's dubbed as the Kili Cycle. So the Kili Cycle is one of the programs we run under the environment pillar. And this program or project has allowed us to partner with over 6 corporates, and these are for-profit organizations, to run a monthly recycling drive in Kilimani. And this has been very successful, and we started it a bit over a year ago in 2021. And this has allowed us to collect over 6 tons of solid waste since 2021. And this has proved to be one of the more successful projects that we're driving. And we want to see how we can scale it beyond Kilimani, because we understand that the problem of solid waste management is really a bigger one, you know, that is also problematic even for the government, you know, and for many governments, even out of Africa. You know, solid waste management and its impact on climate change is really one of those challenges that we'll be facing as communities, as nations, and also at a global level. one of the other ways that we've been able to partner with corporations and business owners is through our enterprise pillar. And this is one of our newest, or our babies. We call it our baby project. And the enterprise pillar grew out of a need to engage more formally or more intentionally with the business community within Kilimani. Again, if you're talking about corporate philanthropy, this is it. So we have come up with the enterprise pillar, both in an effort to build the businesses within Kilimani, and also having them plug back in and investing within the community. So under this, we have had, quite a number of forums, quite a number of meetups with the business owners in Kilimani, and we bring them together to, to have discussions, to network about issues that are of importance to them, how to scale their businesses, how to access credit, and so on and so forth. But also is to plug them in to the community so that, they also see themselves as problem solvers within Kilimani, not just coming to reap, that we occupy, but also as real contributors within this space. So we have business advisors under this particular pillar who give advice to entrepreneurs within Kilimani, and ultimately the entrepreneurs are able to plug back into the community and to contribute, however they feel fit, whether it's through their resources, through their, through their giving money to the foundation, and any other way they feel they can contribute to the foundation and to the community. I want to speak also about the, the environmental pillar, where we focus on cleanups. And this particular event actually takes place after general elections. And in Kenya, they're always very emotive and very busy, with people plastering campaign litter and campaign materials everywhere. So for us, we see this as more of a social cohesion exercise, but it also lends itself as a way to engage corporations, right? And we get them together, listen, ask them, to come and contribute, whether it's their, their members of staff to come clean. What can you give in terms of cleanup material? What can you give in terms of whatever it is that they feel they're comfortable providing for us? And this has really been seen as one of those activities that go beyond what you see. So we are not just about removing the posters, but behind that, people are having conversation with their newly elected leaders, because part of the law requires them to remove the posters. So they are also part of this exercise. So it goes beyond, just having people remove posters. We have the corporations giving back in terms of time and resources. We have our elected leaders coming to meet their constituents and to have useful conversations about, governance and issues really of public service delivery, or whatever else, that's of importance to them. So I will also talk about, an area where communities have really benefited from community philanthropy. And it's no secret that, and Essa mentioned it, sorry about that, that, COVID brought with it unprecedented changes. It was a crisis of enormous proportions for many people. And for us as a community, as a Kilimani community, felt it also, especially around the domestic workers that I had mentioned earlier. And, they offer really a critical service for us in Kilimani. But, on the onset of COVID, they were then locked out of, critical jobs, right? Because no one wanted, to let strangers into their homes, quote unquote strangers, and the fear that was around, the spread of the COVID-19 virus. So many of these women found themselves out of work, and Kilimani Project Foundation and other corporates were able to mobilize food rations for over 200 women for a period of 6 weeks. And you can see there in the photos, those are food rations that were actually given out to the domestic workers and, other people who are in need. And, this response to the domestic workers' plight was a community-driven initiative that sought to address immediate needs, for the domestic workers. And thereafter, we were actually able, with the support of other corporates, put together a program that enabled the women to learn how to produce hand wash and multi-purpose soap that they were then able to sell in a bid to help them keep their, keep their income or their cash flowing, in a way that, they were able to sustain their families. So, this really was also a major contribution through corporate philanthropy, where the community was really able to bridge a gap and to come through for community members who are in need at that particular time. So I will, I'll just, display a few other photos, through our other activities that, promote social cohesion. We're able to support small and micro owners. As you can see, we have pop-up markets, that support, businesses within and outside of Kilimani. We have corporations that are able to also come and plug in within these activities and, really help in bringing the community together and help us, build the cohesion and societal bonds, as I had mentioned earlier. As you can see, nothing is without its challenges, and it's been 10 years of building, this community foundation, trying to activate members of the community, even when they don't understand what we are or what we are doing, but some of these challenges, I think, are something that we can deal with, and through partnerships and networks, we're able to help solve some of these problems, because for us, lack of up-to-date information on the number of businesses, the types of businesses and SMEs within Kilimani, because they've been growing really, really fast at an exponential level. So we are not able to even get or reach even a third of those corporates and businesses within Kilimani, mostly because it's a capacity issue. You need time, you need resources to help you map, to help you, go around and talk to people and so on and so forth. So this really exists as one of the major challenges. The second one is a lack of a proper engagement framework with corporates and SMEs in the ward to help them engage and participate effectively, with us in social investment activities. As you can see, though, we try as much as we can to give the bouquet of where they can plug in, but sometimes they may not find a match that is aligned to them. But I think if we can develop a proper engagement framework, this will enable more corporates or more business owners engage with us in a better way. Lack of proper understanding of our structure and model and how they can give resources and time, money, and so on, again, related to the previous point, continues to remain a challenge, but we welcome discussions on how, other players probably in this field have done this in a better way. So in closing, I will talk about where we see ourselves. And as I mentioned, we have been at this for 10 years, and we are going to be marking our 10th year anniversary next year. And some of these lessons we have learned through the past decade will help us frame our engagement for the next decade. So for us, some of the lessons involve segmenting our audiences, even as we map our corporates, as we map our business audiences. What we came to learn is what will work for a business owner does not necessarily work for a corporate organization. SMEs are more interested in plugging back in by networking, giving back their skills and expertise, and so on and so forth. However, corporates, and this is not one size fits all, but this is from our own personal experience, that corporates ride on the feel-good element about giving back and investing in the community. So how do we shape, or how do we rethink how we engage with corporates and move them beyond, okay, we've given Kilimani Project Foundation X amount for this sponsorship, into really more structured and crystallized philanthropy, that's more long-term, that's more sustainable, and that's more beneficial for the community. Another way we are seeing ourselves engaging with this is creating a social network or platform for corporates to engage and build a community of corporates where they can actually come and engage and talk and, build their own networks, as people who are vested in Kilimani and also interested in investing in Kilimani. So for us, we are thinking of reshaping how we engage with them and creating this kind of hub or relation or network within the corporates that exist after we've done our mapping and, see how that can be beneficial to us. We're also thinking of exploring matching grants with the corporates within Kilimani that will be aligned to our overall objectives. And, so corporate philanthropy can move just from a CSR sort of engagement to real investments in the community, where we'll see corporates actually coming in and saying we're interested in funding X, Y, and Z, and seeing that to the end. The final point will be around data-driven engagement. As I mentioned before, data continues to be one of those things that are tricky for many organizations. So how do we gather data? How do we make it, how do we use it to tell us a story? How is it informing our engagement with corporates? What matters to them? How will data help us answer these questions in developing the engagement frameworks that I spoke about? So for us, I think that would be really helpful in trying to answer some of these questions that continue to be a challenge. The last point I have is around social entrepreneurship and social enterprises as a new way of rethinking how we engage around corporate philanthropy and moving beyond the buzzword. I know these words fly around a lot in our spaces, in the development sector and so on. But how do we activate this practically as a foundation and find long-lasting sustainable solutions that will contribute to helping Kilimani residents and businesses to conduct businesses whose main purpose is to solve societal needs through their commercial activities? Or how do we support social entrepreneurs to develop solutions to social and environmental problems using existing business techniques and strategies? And, in closing, I guess for us, the Kilimani Project Foundation remains one of those model community foundations that would provide a great case study on how corporate philanthropy and community philanthropy can really come to transform a community, can activate even those in those spaces where corporates feel that they can't engage because the systems don't allow or the framework doesn't exist. But for us, we remain open, and welcome other ways of engaging and rethinking what this looks like. I think I will stop there for now, and I will hand over back to Essay for the next session. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wanjuri. I think during your presentation I was jotting down a lot of questions and notes. One of the things that I think stuck out for me in your presentation was really being intentional from the beginning about engaging corporates. And it shouldn't be an afterthought, or like when you run out of money, or when external donor says no, then you think, oh, well, who else is around? It really needs to be part of your organization's sort of structure or strategy to involve them, because I think, as you mentioned, they work and live in the very community where these challenges often manifest, and they should be part of the solution building space in coming up with solutions for these challenges. So thank you so much for that. I know that there are questions from others. I have my own questions, but we want to kind of gather them towards the end. So just keep them in mind, or you can post them in the chat, and we can kind of identify those who want to speak. But I want to turn over now to Francois. Francois, I don't know, Francois, do you have a PowerPoint presentation, or are you going to just speak from your talking points?
Well, I have a presentation, but I'd like to make some introductory remarks before I show my slides.
That's no problem, no problem. So like with Wanjuri, you have about 15 minutes so that we'll have enough time for the Q&A. So we'll be keeping time for that. So please go ahead. And thank you and welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. First of all, I really appreciated the previous presentation. I think the Global Funding for this opportunity to be part of this great session. First of all, I'd like to make some remarks about Haiti, the configuration, the situation that the country faces. As you know, we are located, for those who don't know, in the Caribbean and next to Cuba, and we share the island with the Dominican Republic. The country has been hit by several natural catastrophes, and we have major social and political issues that we are dealing with right now. The area is mostly tourism. We have about 35 million tourists that visit the area. That makes about $35 billion of revenue. Unfortunately, our situation doesn't allow us to tap into this because we are in the midst of major social and political issues, as I mentioned. So I will be, if you allow me to share, I will show some the slide presentation that I have for this session. Do I have a permission to do screen sharing?
Yes.
So, okay, there you go.
Okay, this is a map that I'm showing you to give you an idea. In yellow, this is where we are located, where Haiti is located. So you have an idea of the configuration. Okay, so I will go now into the PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Anyone see the screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, second. Okay, I'll give you a bit of background of Foundation. It started with Espoir. It's an organization based in the United States led by Marie-Rose Murphy. And this is something that Espoir means hope in Creole. And after the earthquake, the 2010 earthquake, we wanted to do something for Haiti or for some regions, and we needed to find an area where we would start this venture. And came the idea of forming the Haiti Community Foundation, which is a concept that was not well known in Haiti because we are used to all of these NGOs that operate in different humanitarian aspects, and coming with the new concept of community organization was a challenge because you had to educate people into this concept and explaining. And this was a major challenge because people have see their immediate needs to be satisfied versus a concept where there is a learning curve. You have to explain what a community is and the empowerment of people. So we needed to go into breaking the traditional rules. So we had adopted a strategy of a bottom-up community-led process. We needed to select a region because the country is divided into departments, and we had to, through certain processes, decide on which community was in most needs to start the venture, and also with a minimum capacity to embrace the processes. So we finally chose the region where I come from, which is the Grandas, which is at the southernest part of Haiti, and we came in a learning fashion to see what were the needs, how we would be able to help, and organize all of these 12 communes that constitute the department. So we came in to work, we kept our promises. And we organized several studies where we look at what the necessities of the regions were, and we documented these processes, and that's where the starting point really allowed us to initiate the different processes. So we came to a point where all the communities were organized, and we needed to start organizing, initiate projects, and gather the resources that would allow us to do so. So we came with a strong regional cross-sectional community leaders network that offers a powerful and effective human infrastructure. So the first phase is, so we got to identify the leaders of the region, of the civil societies, the local government, the leaders of religious sectors, and the leaders of the business sectors in the region. So now that we have the communities connected, and we organize them in a manner that we could share the resources and the collaboration. In this way, we determine some of with the fundings available, we started some projects that were significant for the communities. And the idea is that the foundation, the system that we established, will allow us to communicate and to spread the learned lessons or the methodologies throughout the different regions of the country. So the idea is to start with one region. Now we are focusing on switching to the second department and so forth, so that we cover at the end of a certain period of time, cover the whole country. So this schematic design gives you an idea of how we engage our interventions. With grant and investment, we got support and development of partnerships network, focus on the long-term transformational solutions, mobilize local and international funds, with the civil engagement at all levels, and convergence with connection of local and institutional resources, development of local philanthropy and technical support for development. The challenges we have with this is that the communes, the area doesn't have the level of organization that we would expect for a community. So everything has to be built. You have to really invest a lot of time in getting the people involved in the activities, and have the different boards that we generated. We have one at the level of that incorporates people of different backgrounds in the community, and then at the regional level, we try to create that same level of organization in the communities. Here we have different pictures of trainings and groups that we have managed to get together. We have different sessions. We have, in the COVID-19 period, we had to organize different activities of awareness of the people, so that they understand the dangers of COVID. we also managed to organize the communities, the different stakeholders of the community, so that we get them to really focus on what the dangers were and how it was a necessity to act in a very organized manner. When the earthquake, not the earthquake, sorry, the hurricane came in 2016, this is unfortunately the case for that region, because we are in the route of the hurricanes. We had different supports that we have offered to the community so that they can repair their homes. So we have intensive sessions where we explain to them different situations and opportunities and how to share the resources. Here we had a good recapitalization program that in which, for instance, people, when you donate, when they receive the goods, the offsprings or given next to another family after they generate the new goods. So this is, for instance, a situation where we were giving out some of the reports that we made after the earthquake, after the hurricane, exposing the needs of the people so that they can see what steps they had to take to organize some of the activities. Here is another example of situations in the field. And also, when the earthquake came in, this was another situation that last year that we unfortunately was struck by a devastating earthquake, which had an impact of $2 billion on the community. And that really put us in a very difficult situation. And different institutionalized buildings have been damaged. And there were pledges for the community from the World Bank and other organizations to gather funds so that we could repair the buildings. For instance, schools, more than 1,000 schools have been damaged in the region. Pledges were about 600 million to reconstruct, but so far it has not been that successful. On our side, from the FCH Espoir, we have managed to intervene in areas that were very critical for the people in water systems and reconstruction of some of the health facilities. This map gives you an idea of the concentration of damages for the Southern Peninsula where we operate and the different consequences of the earthquake. So these are the statistics, number of people dead, more than 2,000 deaths, 12,000 people have been wounded, 75,000 families have been impacted, more than 50,000 houses have been destroyed, and 70,000 have been damaged. As you can see, this is an overwhelming impact on the communities that are already very poor, and it's a very difficult situation as we try to do as much as we can while focusing on the long-term goals. We are once in a while obliged to go back and face the Mother Nature consequences. Besides now the warming, the global warming that impacts our communities. Again, these are a picture of destruction, of distribution that we try to make. Okay, we had to bring water to some of the communities. This is, for instance, collaboration that we received from pictures of collaboration that we received from a group of Puerto Ricans that came in to help. So we helped them spread out in the department and set up clinics that were used to help the people in all different needs that they had. Okay. Now we had to be involved in the construction reconstruction after the earthquake. First of all, we participate in training so that when the next disaster comes, more people would be trained. And with the different fundings that we managed to gather in the occasion, we were involved in the reconstruction of cisterns for water on the left, for instance, and the dispensary, the health facility that we have managed to reconstruct with the help of different partners. So we had priorities for the recovery of our communities, counseling and psychological support for adults and children, and support for some of the families in terms of subvention for school, fee payments, materials, uniforms. We have different corporations that have made their pledges, and we have been instrumental in terms of organizing the distributions in the ground. Then with the funding available, we managed to put up some support with low interest loans for some of the beneficiaries, seed distribution for others, for farmers and for whose land and crops were affected. And like we showed in the pictures, different initiatives to regenerate the shelters, the animals that they had. So in our reconstruction agenda, we were serving the most affected communes, which are identified here. There were about 6 of them, and their priorities were schools, water systems, and different plans that they have ahead, and also trying to work with bilateral, multi-bilateral institutions that have resources to engage in the needs of the people. Okay, so we have also set up different fundraising strategies at the time with the network of ESPOA and FCH. We had some fund matching programs installed. We managed to be quite successful in getting some contribution that help us engage in these restorations in different programs that we have. And we have a very selective manner in which when we have the funds, different social groups are engaged in the bidding process where the best ones that are the best organized get the funds so that they implement whatever agenda they have. Now, in our
sorry to interrupt. We have about maybe a couple more minutes. I'm just conscious of time and the Q&A session.
Okay, surely. Now, the reality about the region is that there are not many large corporations or strong groups in the region. It's mostly people that do agriculture. They cultivate basic foods. And so what we have managed so far is to get some of the larger institutions from Port-au-Prince, for example, some banks, some commercial entities to be interested in what we do. So the reputation that we have managed to build now is serve as a platform to engage these institutions so that we have built a trust enough trust so that when they are engaged in some of very specific programs, because some of them are interested in education, some of them are interested in investment in very specific areas. So right now, the whole peninsula region is trying to organize itself so that different investment opportunities will be given so that the communities and the different stakeholders will have an opportunity to invest in electrical projects, in different, those of them that provide tools, machinery, will be able to engage in these projects so that as the communities get efficiency, get more volume in what they're doing, so they will also benefit, because it has to be a win-win situation for the different people involved, different stakeholders. So the stereotypes we want to attract attention on is perceptions, so small grassroots only context in need of ABC capacity building. NGOs are not the only competent parties on the ground, because this is a situation where Haiti has a number of more than 600 of them registered in the country, that and many more that are operating with no licenses. So the reality is that we have different various sizes of organizations, different networks that are sometimes hidden by the NGOs, and a very small but increasingly connected philanthropic network. So we have been promoting different seminars to engage the leaders of the country in different, in a series of webinars that we held recently. We talked about the environment, we talked about different social issues, education, etc. So these are the strategies that have worked for us, okay? We are also focusing on getting our diaspora more involved. As you may know, the proceeds from the diaspora, the transfer that they sent to Haiti is vital, with $4 billion in direct giving. And they want to be involved in the political power. They want to be part of what's being done in the country. And we need to go further into the social changes that we want to make. So that will be it for my presentation, and I return the microphone to Ese. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francois. I think it was really interesting to learn about the context, the history, and especially for how corporations get involved, especially after disasters, earthquakes, and hurricanes, and the role that they can play in rebuilding not just communities, but also the nation. So thank you for that. I think one thing I also took from your presentation was, I guess this is phase 3 now of the strategy from to involve other regions or the departments across Haiti. And that's also similar to the Kilimani Project Foundation in terms of moving beyond Kilimani to other communities as well. And that's something similar that the both of you have in terms of expanding your reach and impact and using corporate philanthropy, community philanthropy to do that. So thank you again for such a in-depth presentations to both of you. While I know we have about maybe 20 minutes left for this conversation. And if you have questions, I think now might be a good time to ask that. I do have some questions, but I really want to give the opportunity to others in the room who might have a reaction to either of the presentation. How is it sitting for you? Are there aspects of it that resonate, that seems familiar, and specifically around the challenges with engaging corporations. Both of you touched on different tactics and strategies that you've used, from SMS, small businesses to larger corporations. Those are different tactics. I just wondering if others have any similar connections. The floor is open or I can ask my questions. There are no questions. Oh yes, please go ahead, Annie.
Hello, I'm Annie Greer from Feedback Labs. To the first presentation on Kilimani, I thought it was, this isn't so much a question so much as it was a reflection. I thought it was interesting that the way in which the model is designed in terms of the relationship with corporate funders was that if there was not an immediate fit between what the corporate funder was looking to give money to and what was already happening in the community, then the organization was like, well, let's get you more involved with the community and let's wait until we find something where there's alignment and that makes the most sense for both of us. And I just think that that's a really powerful strategy. So I'm based in the US and I've done work in a couple of states in the US, and often what I see from nonprofit organizations or from communities that are looking to engage with corporations, that they're willing to shift their mission and whatever work they're working on to suit whatever money is being given out because of the fear of losing out on those dollars. And so I just thought it was a really, I just thought it was such a great strengths-based approach to say, yes, we are we are looking to engage with you as partners. We don't just want to be recipients of funds. And so let's find a partnership that works. And so that's what really stuck out to me with the work that's happening in Kilimani. And so I just, again, it's not really a question, but that's what really struck me in the first presentation.
Thank you, Annie. I have Hugh Davison. Am I pronouncing your name right? I think you're on mute. Hugh Davison, I think you're still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
Good.
you.
Sorry about that. I'm afraid I missed the beginning of this, so maybe this question has been answered already. So, if so, my apologies. But when you get funding for these kind of activities from, say, the USA or the global North, how restricted is the funding normally? Is it totally unrestricted, or are there a number of restrictions which make the funding rather less effective from your point of view and don't reflect a total understanding of your needs?
Yeah, either Wanjuri or Francois, if you can just jump in.
Okay, when you say restrictions, are we talking about the benefits, the capacity for the entity to transfer the funds directly to us? Because what the setup we have is that with Espoir, which is a US-based organization, we have what they call, they have like a 501. I think there's a mechanism for them for the funds to transit through that entity before it comes to the ground.
Yes, I mean, what I was wondering is whether the funders take their own view as to what your needs are and assume what your needs are, or whether they ask you what the priorities, and you are on the front line, you know the situation. Do they actually fully understand and ask you what your primary needs are? Or
yes.
is it a slightly colonial approach?
Definitely, this is the approach that this is what we're trying to implement, and has to take to take into consideration what the needs are. And this is definitely the big fight we have on the ground with all these specialized NGOs, that to food distribution or to schooling. So this is the idea that we explain to them what the needs are, and they participate in making our goals come true. It's not easy, but that's our approach, because it's long term.
Thank you.
If I could just chime in and speak about our experience at Kilimani, I think we've been fortunate enough to have support from donors who really try and understand our needs, right? As you know, and the fragility that comes with running community foundations, issues of sustainability, and really trying to strengthen the institution. So we have been lucky sometimes to get unrestricted funding that allows us then to be more flexible in terms of how we apply the monies, right? So, you know, in terms of, okay, well, how much will go, for example, to running the secretariat vis-a-vis how much goes into program activities, because, you know, the model that has existed for a long time is restricted. So you have to implement this project in this way, you know, don't go above it, you know, and so on and so forth. But we have realized having relationships with funders, donors, partners that understand your needs is far more beneficial, because they are in it for the long run, as far as you are as well. So we are not just coming to pour hard, cold cash, make you spend it in two years, send us the reports, and then they take off. I don't think that's a sustainable way of supporting development. So for us, you know, having those conversations from the very start about, okay, what are your needs? What are your primary needs over and above, you know, your needs to actually implement these activities. We found that, you know, we've had relationships that have allowed us to, you know, to also express ourselves, you know, as a community, and to design programs really that answer or that respond to community needs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question, Hugh. Thank you so much for that. Are there any other questions? I have one, but I want to really give an opportunity to the audience. Can you just raise your hand or unmute yourself? Well, I have one for you, Wanjuri. I think during your presentation, Rosemary, I'll get back to you. I have you noted. You talked about, you know, Kilimani is a membership-based community foundation, and so what is your ratio of corporations versus NGOs or other community initiatives that are part of the membership? I'm just wondering, are corporations pretty high in terms of percentage, or is this part of a strategy to increase that percentage in the next 10 years?
All right, a great question, I say. And as I had mentioned before, because of even the formation of the foundation, we are formed essentially as a residents association. So a greater percentage of our membership is residents who have lived here, you know, for a long time, or, you know, who have joined the community recently. So, but it is, so the percentage of corporate members is actually about 5% or less. So our strategy is actually to increase this particular type of membership, because we've seen, you know, the need for them to be involved in how Kilimani is evolving, number one, and number two, also to see that, you know, they have a role to play really in investing back in Kilimani. So yes, it's part of our strategy going forward to really dig deep and figure out how we can bring them into the fold a bit more, and you know, make them part of the community.
Thank you so much. Rosemary, you still have your hand up. The floor is yours.
Just want to first of all just say thank you. Very good presentations, Wanjiro. I didn't put up my hand that I know Nairobi because I am from Nairobi and Kilimani. So, but really good in-depth explanation around the two different countries, you know, Haiti and Kenya, and how they are navigating the corporate engagement. What I'm curious about, my experience, because I've been in this space for a while, my experience is that corporates tend to look at how else we can work, you know, organizations or NGOs can work with them besides just funding, but more looking at non-financial investment and thinking more as a partner rather than just, handing out some cash at a particular time. So I'm just curious, with that in mind, that, as Kilimani and Haiti are developing strategies to engage corporates, especially, whether there's a thinking about co-creating those solutions and getting the corporates to provide other forms of investment besides whether it's business expertise, whether it's all manner of other non-financial that can be long-lasting in terms of getting that. And usually money, of course, also follows, any cash follows. So I'm just curious to find out whether there's been any, whether you have tried to work with partners, with corporates to develop that, but more from a co-creation rather than going with a full proposal of something that they want to plug in, which I think Wanjiru had alluded to it, that it's best to co-create. And then also linking their giving, so to speak, or their engagement to the sustainability agenda and SDGs, because I think many companies are now putting that as part of their strategic plan, business strategic plans going forward.
Well, if I may, this is where we stand right now at HCF, because we're facing the limitations of the traditional fundings that we've been able to gather so far. The region is an agricultural region with a high potential, but unfortunately, Haiti is underdeveloped, and this is where right now we're trying to, with larger groups, we're trying to sell the region because there's high potential for electricity, hydroelectricity, which is one of the cheapest possible right now, so that we can unleash the potential of the region. And most of our members are people involved in agriculture, in cocoa, in breadfruit, etc. And as you know, for instance, just one example, breadfruit is the gluten-free product that can be replaced with flour. So, and the region has 70% of the production of Haiti is based in that region. So we're trying to engage corporations so that the different small hydroelectricity plants can be installed, and then we can transform the breadfruit, cocoa, and different other materials into products that these corporations can sell. Some of them are machinery corporations, some of them are already in the electricity sector, and we're trying to set up PPPs, partnerships that will allow, public-private partnerships, so that we can generate more wealth in the region. And that's the biggest challenge for us, to get people as they are organized, as they are aware of their potential, etc., to get into increasing revenue so that they can help themselves, because this is the big problem, that they don't have enough revenues to go up the ladder. And that's where we are right now, focusing on all of our energy, all the accumulated experience that we have, all the connections with the people, so that when these corporations come in, we as an entity can navigate with them through these issues and connect them with different stakeholders that are looking at these business opportunities, and hopefully this will come true. This is a part of the 2025-30 plan to have the first sets of investment made in the region.
And just to add on to that, Rosemary, and thank you for that. Thank you for that question. And I think I had alluded to it in my presentation. Yes, so the co-creation of these programs based on the existing problems is one of the key strategies that we're going to apply going forward. And it really does answer the questions of, responding to community needs, number one, and number two, the question of sustainability. Because, if we, curate a program, with the corporates, that incorporates, the needs and how we stay afloat, how we run this program, and bring, the corporates on board at the point of co-creation, then it is there is more ownership, number one, even at community level and even at the corporate level. So you see, more success, I would imagine, in such a framework, rather than one where the corporate is coming to say, okay, fine, where can I, inject some capital based on what you're doing, and where they're not aligned, then they go away. So I think, that sort of rethink and modeling around, conversations around co-creation really are the way to go moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Great question. So I have a two-part, or maybe this is a three-part question to both of you. And I'll begin by, you've sort of explained a little bit about why it's worth investing and taking the time to engage corporations, but maybe unpacking that a little bit. To now, the sort of second part of the question is, for a community foundation that is now starting out, thinking about reaching out to corporations, businesses, and embedding community philanthropy, what advice would you give? What things would you say do not do, or to start doing, or to begin, or to continue to do, in terms of the lessons learned from your 10 years of experience, Wanjuri, and plus more with Haiti as well? Are there some easy quick wins, or is this really a mindset shift exercise when engaging with corporations, that it's worth the process itself, might be worth it, and not just looking for quick wins? So maybe from whoever, yeah, go ahead.
All right. I think for us, one of the key lessons really is not to lose yourself, because there's always a temptation, to follow the hard, cold cash, right? Especially when things go tough. To play to or dance to the tune of the person who's giving you the money, right? But for us, staying true to our values as a community foundation, staying true to our ethos, and remembering really why we do what we do has really helped anchor and ground us in terms of who we decide to partner with, where we take support from in terms of funding, in terms of corporate support, and any other type of support. So for anyone coming into this space is to just remember who you are, right? Remember who you are, remember what your values and what drives you. Number one, that's a first and foremost, critical thing to remember. And number two, even as you go out there to look for partners and to look for money, it's also to remember what you want to accomplish in the long run, right? And if the partnerships or the money distorts, the overall outcome of objective, then it's good to even stop, pause, question, is this relationship taking us where we want to go, right? It's possible to recalibrate, to redesign, to rethink, some of these things, and to ensure they're not cast in stone, such that, you have some wiggle room, to redesign some of these relationships and some of these grants and some of these things. And again, I understand the power dynamics, right, that exist in the development sector and all that. So I think even as we continue to engage even with the donors, from, the shift, between the North and the South and all that, is to begin to push back on some of these structural, systemic issues that have presented themselves, especially for countries, many countries in Africa, right, and in the less developing part of the world, to push back and say this system really is not working for us. How then can we redesign, this system in a way that's more beneficial and that's less damaging, to the communities that these funds or these donors are trying to support. So pushing back, also finding the voice to say no. Is also important, to push back, as I've said, and not fearing to have negotiations about, redesigning some of these structures and as they already exist.
Thank you.
For us, we have two challenges. One local one is the decentralization of the country, because there's a big concentration of investment and corporations in the West, in Port-au-Prince. the West accounts for 1/3 of the population. The second thing when it comes to overseas is the narrative that is unfortunately at the stage it's at with Haiti in general. So I was saying again that the potentials of the regions are immense, and that's why we're trying to showcase. Yes, there are some quick wins both locally and internationally. Like I said, the high potential for hydroelectricity. It's a fishing area. We have the migration, the large world migration of fish, and goes through area, different crops, the yams, the cocoa. The Haitian cocoa is rated, to be one of the best in the world of breadfruit. So there are several opportunities that we're trying to engage cooperation. As resources are scarce, but we're trying to be as attractive as possible. And that's where the Haiti Community Foundation, as we have managed to get a leadership in organizing and alerting people in the region. So we are in this battle of showcasing the potentials so that the different stakeholders, different businesses, the different engineers and different people that are thinking re-engineering of the region and get involved. And we're part of this big advocacy effort so that the benefits will be for the community.
Thank you. So there's this push and pull. Francois, you talked about wanting to show the value, right? There's a lot of value within Haiti, especially in the agricultural, environmental aspects of it. And then, as Wanjuri mentioned, not also wanting to lose yourself in this. Once you've shown value or are trying to show value, not wanting to lose yourself in the conversations that you're engaging with corporations. I think Wanjuri put it really well: the power to say no. And sometimes it can be really hard for smaller community foundations who are, desperate, who a no could mean that organization doesn't survive the next year. And how do you still have the agency and the power to dictate, especially to corporations, that this funding does not align or sit with our own values, our own principles, but yet it's a survival sort of mode for some organizations. So there's that push and pull tension that I'm seeing from both of your presentations with that. We have about 2 more minutes. I don't know if there's one quick question, but I do want to go back to the panelists to just give maybe 30 seconds of last words if there are no more questions. I don't see any hands, so maybe I'm missing 1 or 2, I don't know. No more hands, no? Am I seeing another one? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, in the last 2 minutes, I'm just going to give, I'll start off with you, Wanjuri, to just give last final comments, especially in terms of, looking forward the next 10 years. And by the way, congratulations on achieving a really momentous milestone. It's not easy to get to 10 and to still be flourishing and thriving. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ese, and thank you, Wendy, and the whole team at the Global Fund for putting this together, for inviting us to speak and share our experiences. As you rightly put it, 10 years is not a small feat. It's not been easy. It's not been free of challenges and almost near shutdowns of our institution because, and you've rightly put it, we're a small community foundation. Sometimes even our existence is threatened because of issues of sustainability. But my parting shot would be, in order for us to strengthen our work and, as community foundations, our strength actually lies in building networks within our localities, within our regions, and even at a global level. So for us, I think the important thing is to help, to see really ourselves as pieces in a puzzle that help, solve our problems, both at a local level, see ourselves also at a regional level and as a global level, in as much as we are conducting hyper-local activities, but to see ourselves as, bigger players in this big puzzle that, we can join hands, to solve, global challenges. So thank you so much. And please follow our social media platforms on @Kilimani Speaks. And next time you're in Nairobi, I'm happy to host you. So thank you so much, Ese and Wendy and the whole team at the Global Fund.
Thank you, Wanjiri. I'll take you up on that offer next time I'm there. I'm knocking on your door. Francois.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to speak in this format and also thanking the audience for their attention. We are a country with a very specific history, and if you people have had the chance to pay attention to what the New York Times has been writing, the different debates in the Security Council and the major issues that we are facing, the experience with the HCF has made me another person, because when I started this venture as an accountant, I was the different presentations, I was looking for the money in terms of how wealthy these organizations would become. And it's only when I understood that the value is in the community, in how you educate them, how you empower them, how you make them conscious of their potential. And that's where the change will come from. And this is the basis on which, the foundations on which we are building to move on different regions, with people that are more aware of their responsibilities and their value. And the challenge we had given ourselves is, contrary to other organizations that only have a limited funding or impact on the resources that they gather, we have managed to meet our challenge of 25% of our resources to be locally generated, whether it's money, whether it's the implication of the community in bringing resources into the different projects. And the people are so proud. And we had a very good taste of this when we inaugurated the last health facility, with all the authorities of the region came in, and they were really grateful and appreciative of the work being done. And the community, it has strength, and they are embracing several projects that they would not have done had they not been trained and become aware of the potential they have as a community. So thank you. And then we'll be continuing on the work. We'll be continuing to work on the narrative, and hopefully Haiti will have a new path, because the people are really engaged and determined to have a new leadership and new ways of governing this country, because we have been leaders in the Caribbean for many, many years in different areas, but there's a very dark cloud that we're trying to push back as the first independent country in the region. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Francois. And thank you to all who have managed to stay with us for this 93 minutes of our conversation. Thank you. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is part of a series of conversations, partner-led conversations that we've been having since last year. And this one on corporate philanthropy is number 5. We've had sessions around building local philanthropy, community participation, engaging marginalized groups. The recording and a snippet of this conversation will be published later on our website, but we also invite you to take a look at the other conversations that we've had. We're planning other similar conversations, maybe one around trust and power, one around feminist philanthropy or women in philanthropy specifically. So those are coming up. But thank you so much for staying with us for 90 minutes. We appreciate it. And thank you, Wanjuru. Thank you, Francois, for such an insightful and really deep experiences from your organizations. I wish you all a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.